Arguments began today in the only freeway shooting case yet to come to trial. Channel 2's Orange County correspondent Dave Lopez has an exclusive taped interview with the shooting victim's mother as the trial got underway.
Every time he has appeared in court for the charge of attempted murder, Al Morgan has hidden his face from the television cameras. Today, at the start of his trial, Morgan's father tried to prevent our Channel 2 News camera from taking his son's picture in the hallway. Morgan, currently free on $100,000 bail, refuses to talk to reporters about the case, and his attorney, Paul Meyer, brushes aside all questions regarding the case.
Is there anything your client would like to say, or you want?
Oh, no comment.
Do you intend to put him on the stand at this time?
There will be no comment.
It was last July. Morgan, along with his wife, was driving in his pickup truck on his way to the Orange County Fairgrounds when supposedly someone cut him off on his right side. Morgan got angry about that. According to the police report, Morgan at that time then reached into his glove compartment, pulled out a small Derringer handgun, reached across his wife, and opened fire on the driver on his right. The bullet, one shot, hit that driver, Paul Nussbaum, in the head.
How's your son doing, though, physically?
Well, he's breathing on his own. It took 3.5 months for him to get free of a respirator machine, and he couldn't speak for 3 months. And he can't walk, and he can't do anything for himself. I feed him. We wash his face, we scratch his itches, we comb his hair, we clean his nose, his ears. We have to do everything for him because he has no use of his arms, his hands.
The anguish of a mother, Paul Nussbaum's mother, the victim of this shooting.
Is he aware of what happened to him?
Oh yes, he has full conscious recall and recognition of everything.
Neither attorney would comment about the specifics of this case, but in opening arguments, Morgan's attorney, Paul Meyer, called this shooting, quote, a stupid thing to do, but not attempted murder. District Attorney Chris Kralik countered with, what else would you call this crime? And Nussbaum's mother says she plans to be in court listening to every word spoken.
Can justice ever be done in something like this involving your
No,
son?
I don't think so. The closest thing you can come to justice is to have this, I don't know, sociopath, whatever he is, have to go through exactly what Paul went through. Even being in jail does not ever approximate what it's like to be bound to a hospital bed.
Before the shooting, Nussbaum was quite an athlete, participating in many marathons across the country. Today, he can't even feed himself, crippled from the waist down. But despite his present condition, the district attorney's office announced today that Nussbaum will testify in this trial on Wednesday morning. He'll be brought from Rancho Los Amigos Hospital to the courtroom in his hospital bed. From Santa Ana, Dave Lopez, Channel 2, Action News.
Tonight, a dramatic trial is going on in Santa Ana, Orange County's first involving a freeway shooting. On the stand today, both the shooting victim and the man who admits to pulling the trigger. We get a full report now from Orange County correspondent Dave Lopez.
This is Paul Nussbaum in happier days, as a marathon runner, as a graduate student with a master's degree from USC, as a 29-year-old just enjoying the good life. And this is the same Paul Nussbaum today, as he testified in Superior Court about the shooting incident last July near the Orange County Fairgrounds, a shooting incident that has left him paralyzed from the neck down. His testimony was brief, yet dramatic. No, he never saw a gun pointed at him. No, he never heard a gunshot. Yes, he felt a stinging in his head and a humming in his head. And no, he could not identify the man who shot him, Al Morgan. But after his testimony, Nussbaum told the press how he feels about the man who left him this way.
I have no feelings for him.
You have anger towards him?
I do have a lot of anger, yes.
Hatred?
Well, hatred, and I at the same time, I think he's pathetic.
This is not a case of who committed the crime. Morgan has already admitted that he fired the shot from his truck that struck Nussbaum just below the left ear. What is at issue is the intent of Morgan. According to the prosecution, Morgan should be found guilty of attempted murder. Morgan's defense attorney says it's nothing more than a tragic mistake.
It's rash, it's impulsive, it's extremely dangerous, but that's what 2 of the charges that he's charged with are all about. A charge of attempted murder is one with a specific intent that requires a fairly sophisticated thought process. That doesn't come out of the facts in this case.
Nussbaum's father says he cannot accept the excuse that what happened to his son was a tragic accident.
I just don't understand it. I just, you know, when someone like this commits a deed, as he did, I don't understand why he doesn't show remorse.
Although you may not be the same person you once were physically, if you could get anywhere close to that, get out of that wheelchair, lead a normal life, or have you given up all hope of it?
No, I'm always hoping that I'm going to get better. The day I give up all hope is the day I won't get out of bed.
Morgan, free on $150,000 bail, still hides his face every time a camera is pointed his way. But late this afternoon, while on the witness stand, Morgan could not hide his face. He testified that he had been drinking while driving that day, that he got angry about the heavy traffic on the freeway, about the fact that cars were passing him on the right, and that he fired his gun to, quote, scare somebody. I didn't mean to hit anyone, Morgan said, but Morgan did. Paul Nussbaum. Is that attempted murder? The jury gets to decide. From Santa Ana, Dave Lopez, Channel 2, Action News.
Much more news ahead tonight. We'll hear from a paralyzed freeway shooting victim and his reaction to the verdict for his attacker. Yesterday, we told you about the case of a man found guilty of voluntary manslaughter in a freeway shooting incident. Well, today, the victim of that shooting incident, Paul Nussbaum, spoke to us. He talked with our Orange County correspondent, Dave Lopez, about the incident that cut him down in the prime of his life and about the jury's decision.
This is the last place Paul Nussbaum ever thought he would be, a patient in a hospital ward for quadriplegics. And yesterday, the man who did this to Nussbaum, Al Morgan, was found not guilty of attempted murder by an Orange County Superior Court jury. Not guilty of that charge, but guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter, guilty of using a gun, and guilty of shooting that gun at an occupied vehicle. Charges that could send him to state prison for up to 11 years. And for Nussbaum, that verdict was hard to take.
Just felt that this man has given me a life sentence, and he is getting off with a lesser charge and could possibly be out in 6 years.
The issue in this case was intent. The defense attorney, Paul Myers, successfully convinced the jury that his client, Al Morgan, did not plan ahead of time to shoot Paul Nussbaum when Morgan took his gun while he was driving his truck and fired it out the window.
The defense attorney claims that he was firing a warning shot. Well, if he was firing a warning shot, the gun is pointed straight up in the air. That's the way I understand it. I think this man at the time knew exactly what he wanted to do, and that was to kill me.
Is it hard for you to hide your anger, or are you making any attempt to hide it?
I'm not making any attempt to hide it, but I'm putting all my energy right now into getting better. And if I allow myself to become obsessed about this and stay in an angry state, I feel that it would be just detrimental to my health.
Nussbaum, 29, was in superb athletic condition before the shooting, a marathon runner, an avid tennis player. He had just received his master's degree from USC in sociology, and he had just been hired as a social worker. He said he never used to worry about his future. Now, he said, he is living his life one day at a time. From Rancho Los Amigos Hospital in Downey, Dave Lopez, Channel 2, Action News. He ran in marathons, played tennis, and had just earned his master's degree from USC in social work. The world was his, he said. Then came July 18th, 1987. Paul Nussbaum was driving along the Costa Mesa Freeway. Albert Morgan, irate at being stuck in his traffic lane and seeing cars pass him on the right, took out a handgun and fired a random shot out his truck window. The bullet hit Nussbaum just below the left ear, struck his spinal cord, and instantly paralyzed him.
There's never a day that goes by that I don't relive being in the ER room, what it was like being in ICU. It's something that I don't think will ever go away.
Just after the shooting, Paul's parents were told that their son would be lucky to survive. 3 months later, Paul was told that he would spend the rest of his life attached to a respirator, paralyzed from the neck down. But Paul Nussbaum would have none of that. He wouldn't believe it. He has defied all the odds, stunned all of his doctors.
Today, he walks a quarter-mile every day. With the aid of a walker, he works out 6 to 7 hours a day on his Nautilus. He has been in 2 different marathons where he has wheeled himself 26 miles. And in October, Paul Nussbaum plans to walk a 10K race.
I don't expect that in 3 or 4 weeks I'm going to make significant gains. It's more like 3 or 4, 6, 8 months. I feel I'm just doing what anybody else would do who was in my situation. But if I can inspire other people, then I think that I've accomplished something there too. I suppose if I really knew how bad off I really was, maybe I wouldn't have made it. But I did beat the odds.
He still fights frustration. Rarely, he says, if ever, does he think about the man who did this to him. But he is constantly focused on getting better, on someday walking, and so grateful to be alive.
I feel real lucky for what I have, and so when I say that if I don't come all the way back, that's okay, because I know what it is to have a lot less.
We'll go down to Jim Angus now at courtside.
This year's WCT Scottsdale Open title sponsor. In behalf of everyone at Polaroid, we would like to give special thanks to the WTC members, the Scottsdale Charros, and all the great tennis fans here in the Scottsdale area. Your involvement and your participation have certainly made this tournament a major success. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. If you'll stay here and give me a hand. I want us to welcome our runner-up today, who had a wonderful week, Elliot Pelcher. Elliot, could you say a few words for us?
I'd like to make 2 speeches if I could, and I'll keep them short. First, I'd like to congratulate Brad. I'm glad I bring out the best in him. Really. I'd like to thank the sponsors, Nabisco for sponsoring the circuit for all the players, Polaroid for sponsoring this event. It's been great. I have one other thing I'd like to say. I have a friend of mine who's in the hospital. His name is Paul Nussbaum. He was shot on one of the unfortunate LA freeway shootings. And if he's watching, he's a good friend of mine. I just want to say that we're thinking of you and we care about you and hope everything turns out okay. And I'd like to thank all of you also for coming out. It was a great crowd, and I know there's no NFL games on, so that probably helps. Thank you.
It was last July. Morgan, along with his wife, was driving in his pickup truck on his way to the Orange County Fairgrounds when supposedly someone cut him off on his right side. Morgan got angry about that. According to the police report, Morgan at that time then reached into his glove compartment, pulled out a small Derringer handgun, reached across his wife, and opened fire on the driver on his right. The bullet, one shot, hit that driver, Paul Nussbaum, in the head. How's your son doing, though, physically?
Well, he's breathing on his own. It took 3.5 months for him to get free of a respirator machine. And he couldn't speak for 3 months. And he can't walk. And he can't do anything for himself. I feed him. We wash his face. We scratch his itches. We comb his hair. We clean his nose, his ears. We have to do everything for him because he has no use of his arms, his hands.
The anguish of a mother, Paul Nussbaum's mother, the victim of this shooting. Is he aware of what happened to him?
Oh, yes. He's full conscious recall and recognition of everything.
Neither attorney would comment about the specifics of this case, but in opening arguments, Morgan's attorney, Paul Meyer, called this shooting, quote, a stupid thing to do, but not attempted murder. District Attorney Chris Kralik countered with, what else would you call this crime? And Nussbaum's
mother...
further down.
Here are our questions.
Put one on my lap.
You know what you want to answer.
You know, I've given this a lot of thought. You know, what would I say to a group of high school students? What could I share with you that maybe you might find some value or some sort of interest? And last night, you know, I was thinking when I was in high school, there's a lot of things, you know, you learn, but you know, there are some things that you don't learn. And I think what is going on here, what your Mrs. Boone is doing, it's showing you another part of life. You know, I was a victim of a violent crime. I'm sure some of you have had friends, maybe family members. This could be something that, you know, you may have to face in the future. It may not be anything as intense as what has happened to me. And there isn't really anything that prepares us for this. You know, there was nothing that could have prepared me for what happened. You know, but however, maybe there might be something that happens, an unfortunate situation that maybe you could prepare for. My experience after I was shot and I was in the hospital, it, you know, took the foundation from underneath me and my parents, and it, you know, all of a sudden, you know, for me, being in ICU, it was as though time really had stood still. A minute would go by and it would seem like 4 or 5 hours. And there was a team of doctors who were working on me. I think there was about 11, all with the specialty. And at that time, I guess my primary physician, the one who was there at in the ER room of the trauma unit, I found out later that he's told me that he would go home at night and pray that I would die. Because at that time I was not getting better, I was getting worse, and I knew what had happened. I knew I had been shot. I knew I was bad off. But I thought I would be out of the hospital in 2 weeks. You know, I didn't know that much about spinal cord injuries or anything similar to that. My parents were and my family and friends were in shock. And I guess what I'm saying is, what I did was I wrote it out, what I had done for years, and I think what most of you in here will find out as time goes on. When times are tough, you learn to ride them out, and the more, as you get older, you ride out these hard times more and more, and then, you know, it becomes, it's still difficult, but it's not as difficult. You know you can get through it. You know, with me at that time, you know, I was 28 years old. You know, I had reached a lot of my goals, my academic goals, a lot of my working occupational goals. Physically, I was in the kind of shape I wanted to be in. I was pretty much an all-around athlete. And then all of a sudden I was faced with this situation. And I think I was a little naive and also in denial at the same time. I didn't think that at the beginning, at least the first 2 or 3 weeks, I thought, well, I'm going to get through this. It wasn't until about the 4th week I realized that I wasn't getting it really that much better, and my situation was very bad. And I didn't want to live at that point. And even saying this today, I've come a long ways, but I wouldn't want to have to go through that again. You know, if it was my choice, I think that some sort of mercy killing would have been better, but that's not the way it works in this culture. I had so many problems and so many complications. I was in ICU for 4 months. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk. It was, and as I said, my primary doctor, was praying at night that I wouldn't make it, or that I would die. Somehow, I got through this, and I think it was not wanting to give up without a fight. I don't know how many people in here have seen the movie Rocky. I'm not talking about 2, 3, or 4. The first one, what he says in this movie when he's going to fight Apollo Creed for the heavyweight championship is that all he wants to do is go the distance. It doesn't matter if he wins or if he loses, he just wants to go the distance, which is to go the full 12 rounds. And that's true with what I went through and what a lot of you will go through. It's, can you go the distance? And it's, it's knowing what the distance is for you. And sometimes the distance will change as you find that you have gone those 12 rounds. Then there's always another fight coming up, and I think that's what we're faced with. Just to cite one more movie. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. In the movie, when he's locked up in the psych unit, he makes a bet that he can pick up this sink and throw it through the window and escape. So the patients around say there's no way you can do this, and it's a good scene because he takes the bets and he tries to lift up this 500, 400 pound sink, and he can't do it. And then everyone, is looking at him, and they're kind of giving him a hard time. And he looks at all of them, and he said, "Well, at least I tried." And I think what's going on there is, even though he didn't succeed, he can live with, if you want to call it a failure, because he did the best that he could. And I don't really consider myself a hero. I think that what I've done is, I've done the best that I could do. I am surprised that at the progress and at that I'm able to keep doing this day after day. Before this even happened, I remember talking with a friend of mine. We were running, and we're talking about, well, what if you were paralyzed, or would you want to live? And I said I would. He said he wouldn't. And I had the same conversation about approximately 3 months, maybe, before I was shot. The same conversation, but longer this time. And it was a different friend, and we were running. We were coming out for a 10-mile run, and I said that there's just no way I'd want to live. I couldn't run and lift weights. There really wouldn't be any point for me to go on. So I had already decided that if something like this ever happened, that I wasn't going to see this life through the end. But like I said, I am surprised at how hard I've been able to continue working and to push myself. I was reading the questions here that you wrote, and I thought they were very good. And one question that came up, and I think it was came up a few times, written a little bit differently, but how do I keep going, and what do I do to continue? And it's I don't really think about it too much. It's getting out of bed and going in the morning. I guess if you could kind of think of it, doing something like if you're going to go out and run a mile or more, it's you don't want to think of too much. You just want to put yourself in autopilot or gear, put your shoes on, and then just start going out and start moving. And then after you get into it, you're already doing it, and you can continue. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think about it too much. I just put myself in gear and I begin my day. And then after a couple hours, it's really not that difficult anymore. Some days are a lot harder than other days, and it can be very frustrating. And I feel like throwing in the towel. If you have any questions, this is your time as well, so feel free. What I thought I would do is, answer the questions that I have here, because you took the time out to write them out, and I feel that I should answer them. The first one, what are your true feelings for the man who shot you? Well, I think he's scum, because I get a sense that this is someone who really doesn't care too much for other people. If you put yourself in maybe his shoes, or if I put myself in a similar situation where I was the perpetrator and I shot someone and either killed him or crippled him, I would think that, you know, I would say, you know, throw the book at me. You know, I just, you know, wouldn't, you know, I just couldn't see myself hiring an expensive defense attorney and trying to get off. I just, you know, can't imagine. The second question, do you ever get frustrated with yourself when you do the things you used to do? Sure, every day. You know, there's always something. Well, there are many things, but like I said, some days are not as bad as others. Some days are really tough. Do you think you'll ever be able to walk again? I have no doubt about that. I've been walking for a while now, and I'm continually getting better. It's with my kind of injury, it's a combination of time, patience, and hard work. I'm already ahead of what I thought as far as my walking progress. I'm able to get around without the use of a cane or braces, so it's coming, and but it's slow. How do I feel being paralyzed? Well, you know, it sucks. Were you scared you would be killed? No, I really don't think that I ever, you know, had that sense that, you know, I was, you know, going to be dead or that I was dying. You know, I didn't know how bad off I was. I knew that it was big time, though. But I didn't. You know, and then after, you know, a month or so, you know, I was wishing that, you know, I was dead. This question, can you share your thinking with us? I mean, what do you think about all the time? Women, revenge, worrying about the future, wishing things were different. This is what I think about. Well, yeah, I think about you know, women sometimes. Revenge, yeah, I do. I just kind of have a hard time believing that, you know, you wouldn't think about revenge. You know, it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm planning and I'm going to act on it. It's yeah, I mean, you know, I'm you know, pissed off and you know, sure. I mean, there are things that you know, in my mind that I would like to do to this person. You know, like I said, but you know, who wouldn't feel that way? I think if it happened to yourself or anyone close to you, how would that make you feel? You know, if this guy was to die tomorrow, you know, it wouldn't, you know, depress me or anything. So, please describe how I felt when this happened. Well, I couldn't believe it. It's not my focus, because it would be a waste of energy to be thinking about him, what I'm going to do to him. So you can't block it out completely. It creeps in, but I try not to just spend all my time thinking about this, this guy, this asshole.
Is he in prison, Paul?
Yeah, he is.
How long will he be there?
He was given a 10-year sentence. So he could be out in 5 or 6 years. At the time of the accident, did I feel any pain? No, I didn't. I was in discomfort afterwards when I was in the emergency room, and they had me on the CAT scan machine, and the table was hard, and it was uncomfortable, but I guess you have endorphins, and I think they kick in when there's a lot of pain, and then there were probably nerves that were severed, and so I didn't feel that much pain. Then after that they had me on morphine, and so for a month I never really felt a lot of pain. There was a lot of discomfort though, and if I was in pain, then there was a nurse there who would give me an injection of morphine or something like that. Ms. Boone says that people either become bitter or better, not from the circumstances they go through, but from their responses to the circumstances. How have I been able to keep from becoming bitter? I'm not sure. I think it's just something that I carried with me from before. I don't want to misdirect my anger onto somebody else because I'm frustrated with my situation about someone who I should be pissed off at. And I guess this is something that I'm aware of. I do get angry, at times, but it's not that often. It's not that misdirected. I guess I'm just aware of what has happened and what's going on with me.
When you talk about not letting it be directed, do you mean you just don't let yourself think about it? You just, when he comes to your mind, you just put it away and you just keep thinking about other things you have to do?
When this person?
Yeah.
Well, I'll channel it to my therapy. I'll work out a little bit harder. I'll do more repetitions, and so it's I channel it into physically. And so, it's one way of, I guess what I think it's a healthy way of dealing with it. What are my plans for the future? I'm not real sure what I want to do as far as my occupation. I'm real marketable. I can go into a lot of different fields in the area of social work. But right now I'm more focused on just my own rehab and getting better. How did I feel as soon as the bullet hit me? Well, I didn't know what had happened. I was, all of a sudden, the bullet hits. I'm driving along, and it's, I guess it was like, what the fuck is going on here? I started to lose consciousness, and I was thinking, what's going on? Why am I losing control of the car? And I was thinking, don't black out, don't lose control. At the same time, I'm trying to stop the car by putting my foot on the brake. and it's not working out very well. And I'm making this tremendous effort not to lose consciousness, to stop the car. And the car, I hit about 3 cars before this car came to a stop, and and then there were some things that happened following after that, which I'll talk about. But I think there are questions here that I'll read, and it's you take breathing for granted, and the way I see it now, it's great that I can breathe. It's almost like a luxury, such as walking would be, anything at this point. I can see that the time is going by pretty quickly, so I don't think I'm going to be able to answer all the questions, but let me say that when I was, that day on the 18th, I was going over to a friend's house to have, we were having a barbecue, and when I was driving down the freeway, I had this feeling, it was real strong, that I was going to be shot. Call it a premonition or whatever, and I ignored it. But it was, I felt like I shouldn't be driving. So I was half in and half out of my body, and I'm thinking about freeway shootings and how vulnerable I was. And then it lasted, I guess, for 5 or 10 minutes.
This was the day of the shooting?
This was the day, yeah. And then, 20 minutes later, I was shot. I guess, I've never had anything like that happen before. I've heard of things like this happening to other people. And I don't know. It happened. I should have probably have pulled off the freeway, but I didn't. And all like I said, is that I'm human, and I probably made a mistake, and I don't know, what was warning me, but something was like.
Are you a spiritual man, a religious man at all?
No, I'm not. I'm not religious in the sense that I go to, I have the, I really wasn't religious, in that sense before, and I'm not now. I have thought a lot about, religion when you're flat on your back, and you're in bed. You have a lot of time to reflect on yourself and about God and things. I don't blame God for what happened. It's something that I guess if you believe in God, or if there's this higher power that you succumb to, that you could be frustrated and angry. And I don't think that's uncommon. I heard of priests who have had a spinal cord injury, and they will it would completely blow them away, and they will become very bitter and believe their parish and things. It's absolutely devastating what it can do to an individual and their family and friends. There are people that some friends didn't they didn't want to have, they didn't want to really visit me or see me, and I can understand because they wanted to remember me the way they saw me last. You know, it's just too, you know, it's just too, it was too hard on them, too disturbing. This question here, what was the worst thing I faced since the shooting? I came closest to making me quit or give up. I can't really think of one thing. There were many things. Being on a ventilator, not being able to move, being in bed, all those things. Having pneumonia. I was in many things.
Are you in pretty good health now? Do you feel like you, in terms of sickness, respiratory illnesses?
Yeah, I haven't had a cold in over 2 years. So, my immune system is strong. I do believe that if you can, keep a good attitude and remain positive, that myself and other people, no matter if it's cancer, or if you're able to stay positive, it does help. When I was, I think what helped a lot for me was having positive people around who would come visit me. It picked up my spirits. I felt better. I was able to get through the day. I had my share of nurses and doctors who would come in and tell me that I wasn't going to get any better, and labeled me, called me, so that I was a quadriplegic. I knew what a quadriplegic was, but it was just very devastating to hear all this. And when I heard that, I didn't want to go on. I wanted to give up. So it does help if you're able to have, to remain, and you can't do it all the time. But if you're able to, to break the cycle, because it is a cycle. If you're depressed and if you're having a hard time, it's a cycle because it keeps spiraling down. And if you're able to stop the cycle, then you're okay. But if you remain in the cycle too long, it will take you down. I've had a clearer view of the bottom than most of you have, because I've been there. And I know what it looks like and feels like. But if you're able to somehow break the cycle, you're gonna have bad days and bad times, but you're able to keep going.
I think we have a question. You want to ask your question, Jen? No? One question I have is, how are you able to maintain, aren't there a lot of expenses, hospital bills and things like that? And I imagine that the man who did this isn't paying, is he?
No, he's not. I had insurance. I exhausted it all. Then Medi-Cal kicked in. And my medical bills were well over $1 million. And now, the state pays for, they subsidize, for a small percentage of, my attendant health, for my physical therapy. The rest of it, I have to pay for. it's it's not cheap, but it's the most expensive stuff is out of the way. I think ICU was running about $8,000 a day. You know, I was in there for about 4 months in ICU critical care.
Another question that I have is, when you now see like gang shootings and things like that, when you see people who, high school age kids who have guns and weapons, and does it make you think that innocent people are going to get hurt? Does it make you want to say something or talk to these people or give them some message about that?
Well, I mean, this is a dangerous world that we live in. And I don't really see any effective way. What are you going to do with the drive-by shootings? I think as long as guns are legal, the problem's going to be there. I don't. It seems like there's more going on now than there was 10 years ago. Maybe that's true. The media, they can sensationalize things and sometimes make things seem worse than they really are. I suspect that things are worse a little bit now. Drugs are big business, and it seems like there's territorial issues as far as the drugs and the shootings are concerned. Innocent people do get shot, and if you ever happen to be in a trauma unit or an ICU unit, you'd be there are quite a few people in there that are victims of violent crimes, not necessarily drive-by shootings, but someone was walking the street. There was one kid in there, he was about 17 maybe, and he was down near the beach, and he was in the crosswalk walking across the street. Some guy who was drunk ran him over, and he's permanently brain injured. He's like a 2-year-old. In his thinking, and he'll probably be that way. And that's not that uncommon. It happens a lot, and there were a lot of people in there that stuff like that happened to. And I don't, I guess maybe it begins in the school and at home. There's in judo or in Eastern kind of philosophies, what they have is their way of thinking is that it's a win-win situation. Either we both win or we both lose. And so in judo, if you're sparring with your partner and he hits the ground and gets hurt, then you both lose. And so I think what maybe needs to be worked on is this win-win. How can we all win together? And that maybe if there's more of that being practiced, may be able to help society as a whole more. Because there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of win-lose. We see that all the time in sports and everything.
We just have a few more minutes left, so I want to ask if anyone has a question. Anyone have a question you want to ask? Well, Paul, if you could leave us with one thing that you learned from this that you would want to pass on to us, what would you want to say to us?
I guess what I would say is like I said, I don't really consider myself, a hero, and I guess what I would say is, listen to yourself. I think it's important that we tend to let other people influence us, and in our way of thinking and what we should do. And, listen to yourself and your feelings. If you have a strong sense about something, then I think that's what you need to do. It doesn't mean that life is going to work for you, but I think most of the time you'll find that it's going to work more than it's not going to work. You need to believe in yourself. I just think that it's something that you can work on.